When I went to UCLA, the idea of art becoming an important fixture in the university was not that, it was very new at that time. The idea of a fine arts program was sort of new. And so it was just a growing kind of thing at that time. Studied with Bryce. Bill was, he was great. Bryce was a great teacher, in terms of enthusiasm and encouragement and a genuine kind of sort of a companionable teacher, fellow artist, fellow seeker sort of thing. And he could talk endlessly and enthusiastically about being an artist in art and what had been done in the past. And he was an incredible teacher. The scene on Pier Avenue was pretty exciting actually when you think about it. Kenny Price and Billy Al Bengtson were right across the street. Max Hendler was right next door. Irwin was right next door. And there was a pool hall right next door to my studio, and we would played a lot of pool. And everybody sort of joined in, and we got to know one another, and I don't think anybody had any respect for anybody's work, and that's I think if you think of some of the late Flopake pieces like Love, Death, and Gambling, they have this sort of pop kind of ideas about money, gambling. And the bowling pin has always been a favorite sort of mysterious metaphor for me. I don't understand it myself. But then the idea of drinking and gambling and money and cards, and the titling at Jack Nicholson just came later. It had actually nothing to do with him. But I sort of liked him as an actor at that time, and he sort of, I sort of figured it fit the kind of roles he might have played. But I came to the conclusion that if Rubens were alive today, he'd be painting with resin. He'd be working with resin because of its transparencies, its layering, and the depth of the surface that he could get with, like deep glazing. There was no planning in terms of subject matter, but in terms of construction, there had to be planning, because you move stuff around and you make things separately and put them together like in a very collage-like manner. Not in this one particularly, but in that one, yes. Those things were, made separately to a certain degree and then assembled. You can't just go to your studio and paint. It just doesn't work that way. It doesn't come that way. Decisions have to be made, and at times decisions are extremely hard to come by because, that's the name of the game, is creativity. And if I was painting in a certain kind of way where I knew, if I was the kind of artist that knew what he was going to paint and knew that it was going to be a laborious kind of process of painting that took time, brushstroke, that would be different. But my feeling is that anything I have to do in terms of art or painting can be done in 5 minutes or less. And so that gives you a lot of time to think of where that next 5 minutes is going to be expended. And it's a big decision that you're looking to make, not a small one, but a big decision, and even though it takes just a short time to execute. I look at these things now and they just look beautiful to me. I can't believe I made them, and when I look at them, I can't recall maybe the specific energy that went into them, but I admire the person who made them. Maybe that's the way I put it. I admire his energy that he was able to do these things